Okay, so now let's do this, y'all. Okay, so y'all, 3.2 talks about this idea called linear functions and their graphs. Y'all, when we were here on Monday, we did a little bit of graphing and we would make this little table and we would plot some points. And y'all, we're going to kind of do the same thing today with 3.2. Now, the one thing I want to mention y'all about these first couple of problems in 3.2 is when they tell me to graph by plotting the x-intercepts. Y'all, I'm going to make a table, but I'm going to make a very special table. This is the table that I'm going to make. Okay. When it says to graph by plotting the intercepts, I'm going to make this table and I'm going to, my first part is going to be, hey, look, where the x is, we're going to put a 0. And then the second spot is where the y is, we're going to put a 0. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, y'all, step number 1, okay, here's my problem. Negative x plus 2y is equal to 6, okay? And what I'm going to do, y'all, is everywhere there's a letter x, I'm going to put the number 0. So I'm going to come back here. There's a negative. I'm going to put a 0 plus 2y equals 6. Okay, is there such thing as a negative 0? What do y'all think? No, right? Because 0 is, y'all, 0, remember what we said, positives, how much money I have, negatives, how much money I owe. 0 means I have no money. So the opposite of 0, still 0. Okay. Plus 2y equals 6. Y'all, 0 plus 2y, still 2y. Okay. So now I end up with 2y is equal to 6. Y'all, if I want to solve for y, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by the number 2. Okay. And let's see. Anybody know what's 6 divided by 2? Half of 6? Anybody? Half of 6? 3. Okay, good. Look, y'all, I'm going to come back here. We're going to put a 3 right there. Okay. Now, y'all, we're going to repeat that process. Step number 2. Okay. Step number 2, y'all, what we're now going to do is where we had the letter y, we're going to put a 0. So, y'all, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to look at my problem. Negative x plus 2y equals 6. We're going to go negative x plus 2 times 0 is equal to 6. Okay. Now, y'all, 2 times 0 is still 0. Okay. Y'all, when I see this negative x here, this is the same thing as saying a negative 1x equals 6, right? So negative 1x plus 0, still negative 1x. Now, just like we did before, y'all, I need to divide both sides by the number in front of my x, which is a minus 1. Okay. So 6 divided by negative 1, just a negative 6. Okay. And I'm going to come back here, y'all, and I'm going to put. Now, again, y'all, when we're doing this process and we're going to do the intercepts, this table right here, this is the one that I have. Now, we're going to go ahead and plot those points. Look, y'all, the first point is the point 0 and 3. Remember, that means from the middle. We're not going to go left and right, but we're going to go up to 3. Okay. The next one is the point negative 6 and 0. So notice, y'all, negative 6 and 0 would mean we're going to go to the left 6, and then we're going to stay right there. And then I'm going to do my best. Boom, there we go. Actually, looks pretty good to draw my line. Y'all, when we do this process of plotting the intercepts, the points that we're trying to find are the points that happen to fall on this line here and on that line right there. And that's why when we plotted those points, we had this one and we had that one. Okay. So anytime I see this idea that says, hey, plot using the intercepts, y'all, I'm going to make a table and my table is going to look like that. And that's how I'm going to do my table every single time. Okay. So look, let's try the next one. We're going to do the same thing here, y'all. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. Okay. And the directions are the same thing, right? We're trying to find the intercepts. So look, y'all, I'm going to go like this. X and Y. I'm going to put a 0 here, and I'm going to put a 0 here. Okay. So y'all, just like we did before, step number 1 says I'm going to come back over here, and wherever we have an X, we're going to write the number 0. Okay. Oops. 4. All right. So what I'm going to do here, y'all, I'm going to put a 0 minus 2y equals 4. 0 minus 2y, y'all, is still a negative 2y. And I'm going to go ahead and divide everything here, y'all, by minus 2. Okay. And look, we're going to get y equals negative 2. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to write a negative 2 right there. Okay, my step number 2, y'all, we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to come back. We're going to write x minus 2y equals 4. That's my step 1. That's my step 2. So in step 2, where the letter y used to be, we're going to put the number 0. So we're going to write x minus 2 times 0 equals 4. Okay. Anybody know what's 2 times 0? Oh, it's still 0, right? Okay. And then x minus 0, y'all, is just an x. And check it out. We got x equals 4. So I'm going to put a 4, boom, right there. Okay. Y'all, I'm going to come back and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, look, here's my first point. 0 and negative 2. Remember, y'all, from the middle, the first number tells me how to go to the left or the right, but I'm not going to the left or right. I'm going to stay right there, and then we're going to come down to negative 2. Okay. The second point, 4, 0, remember the first number tells me how to go to the left or right. So 4, the second number tells me go up and down. I'm not, because it's a 0. Boom. And there's my line. Okay. Y'all, anytime I see this phrase right here where they tell me to plot the intercepts, again, that's the little table I'm going to make. It's similar to the table that we did on the tables that we did. Sorry, let me come back here so you guys can see. Similar to the tables that we did on Monday, but we got to use those real specific values, okay? All right. So, y'all, let me scroll down a little bit further in my notes, and let's take a look at what we got going on here. All right, so let's take a look, y'all. It says, find the slope of a line passing through the points x1 and y1, and x2 and y2 is given by this formula. Okay, so y'all, the x1, y1, the x2, and the y2 just means we have 2 points, okay? And so they give us a formula here, y'all, and here's my formula to tell me how to find the slope of the line. We're going to talk about what the slope of the line means in a minute, but we're going to see if we can figure this out. So y'all, usually when I tell my students when we're going to do something like this, the first thing I want to do is I want to label my points. So y'all, I'm going to call this my x1 and my y1, and I'm going to call this one my x2 and my y2, okay? And the step number 1, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write down the formula, and I know it's right there, but I'm going to write it down anywho, because it's going to help me to do the problem. Okay. The first part of the formula, y'all, says, let's find the number y2. What number is written above the letter y2? Anyone know? What? -1. Okay, look, y'all, we got a minus sign. There's a minus right here. I'm going to write the minus sign. The number that's written right above the number y1 is 3. Okay. Then the next thing is, okay, what number is written right above the number x2? 4. Minus what number is written above the number x1? There is a -2. Okay. So now, first thing I'm going to do here, upstairs, y'all, look, -1, -3. I owe you $1. You lend me 3 more, I owe you 4. Okay. Y'all, remember when we talked about minus, minus? Minus, minus is going to make it into a plus. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay. Now, the next thing, y'all, let's see if we can reduce this fraction. Look, there's already a negative there, so let's write the negative. We know where it is. It's up at the top. 4 and 6, we can divide them both by 2. Half of 4 is 2, and half of 6 is 3. Okay. Now, in addition to finding the slope, they want us to draw the line. So we're going to draw the line to hopefully get an idea of what is that really telling me. Okay. So look, y'all, the first point I'm going to plot is the point -2 and 3. So remember, I'm going to go to the left 2, and I'm going to come up to 3, and there's my first point. Okay. The next point I'm going to draw, y'all, is the point 4 and -1. So I'm going to go to the right 4, and I'm going to come down to -1. And then, y'all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try my best to, at least, is to draw that line pretty straight, or as straight as I can. Okay. Now, y'all, the way you read a line is the same way you read a sentence. When you read a sentence, you read that sentence from the left to the right. Okay, I got a question for you. If you look at that red line, as I go to the right, would you say that my red line is going up, or is my red line going down? Going down. Okay. Why is it going down? Because my slope is what kind of a number? Negative, right? Okay. What that -2 over 3 means is, ideally, guys, I hope I did this right, in terms of me drawing the picture. From this red point, I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2. I'm going to go to the right 3, 1, 2, watch out. You guys can say watch out, my 3. Look, I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You see what I'm saying? It's just kind of like steps, like you're going down steps, right? So the top number tells me how many spaces to go, either up or down. In this case, because it's a negative, I'm going to go down. 1, 2, the right. The bottom number is going to tell me to go to the right. Why the right? It's positive. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So this line, as we go from the left to the right, it goes down, right? It goes down. It goes down, y'all, because the slope is negative, okay? Now, I got another problem similar, okay, right here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the slope of the line. The first thing I'm going to do, y'all, I'm going to write down my formula one more time, okay? So here's my formula. The first thing I got to do, y'all, I got to label my points, okay? That's my X1 and Y1, and that's my X2 and Y2. Y'all, which one? Sometimes you'll say, can you put the X2, Y2 here and the X1, Y1 there? You can do that. Just make sure the first one is the X and the second coordinate's a Y. It's always got to be that way, okay? So look, let's do this. Boom. What's my number underneath my number Y2? 5, right? Boom, right there, 5. Look, y'all, there's a minus, so let's put a minus. Y1 is the number 1. Okay. Then X2 is a number 3, minus, because there's a minus, but my number X1 is a -2. All right. 5 minus 1, 4. Remember, y'all, minus makes it a plus. So that gives me a 5. Okay. Now, let's do the same thing here. Let's go ahead and plot that point, and let's see what we come up with. Let's see. So the first point, -2 and +1. I'm going to go 2 to the left. I'm going to come up to 1. And then the second point, y'all, 3 and 5 from the middle. I'm going to go right 3, and I'm going to come up to 5. Boom, right here. And again, y'all, I'm going to do my best to draw my line, okay? And I'm going to ask you another question. Just like I said before, the way you read a line, you go from left to right. As I go from the left to the right, would you say my green line is going up or going down? It's going up. Y'all, it's going up because this number here is positive, okay? So the slope of the line, if it's negative, boom, my line comes down. If it's positive, boom, it goes up. Does that make sense? Again, y'all, What is the slope from here? Look at the top number 4. Guys, I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, 5. That's all you're really doing. It's like you're taking a big step. Right? How do you get there? Go up 4, go to the right 5. So, y'all, we said if the slope is negative, the line falls down. If the slope is positive, the line goes up. Okay. We're going to do 2 more problems, y'all, that are not in the notes. So I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm just going to ask you somewhere on your paper, save a little bit of room, and we're going to try something here, okay? So I'm going to make up a problem, and we're going to find the slope, and let's do it like this. -2 and 3, and 1. Okay? Guys, I'm going to make up 2 problems, okay? Because I want to make sure that we're good with this. All right, step number 1, I'm going to write down my formula. M equals y2, y1, x2, and x1. Okay. Just like we did earlier. Okay. And we're going to see what happens here. All right, let's take a look. My number y2, everybody agree my y2 is a 3? Minus, because there's always a minus, y1, also 3. X2 should be a 1. Minus x1, y'all, looks like it's a -2. Okay. Upstairs, anybody know what's 3 minus 3? Boom. 0, right? On the bottom, y'all, minus and minus become plus. What's 1 plus 2? 3, right? Okay, y'all, last question. Anybody got a calculator? What's 0 divided by 3? You can use your phone if you want. 0, right? Okay, boom. All right. Y'all, I want you to notice something here. We got a slope of 0. Okay, we got a slope of 0. Y'all, I'm going to do something here real quick, like to give you a visual. I'm going to draw real small right here just because I got not a lot of room, X and Y. And I'm going to try to plot those points, okay? So let's take a look-see here. The first point, -2 and 3. 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Boom, right up there, okay? The next point is 1 and 3. So I'm going to go to the right 1, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Y'all remember what I said, the way we read a line? We go from the left to the right. Is that line going up? Good, right? That's what we call a horizontal line. Okay. Horizontal lines, though, are always going to have a slope of what? 0. Why? Because if it was positive, boom, it'd have to go up. And if it was negative, boom, it'd have to come down. So a horizontal line, or we get a line slope with 0, that line is going to be what we call horizontal, okay? I'm going to write that right here so we don't forget it. All right, guys, I'm going to make up one more problem, okay? Because I want to make sure that we're good with this stuff here. Let's try this. Let's take another point, okay? Another pair of points. Oh, let's keep it easy, breezy, cover girl. Let's go 3 and -2 and 3 and 4, okay? And again, y'all, I'm going to write out my thing here. M equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. And again, I'm going to label my points. Okay. And we're going to take a look-see and see what we come up with. All right. So y'all, look at my number y2. My number y2 is a 4. 4 minus, but my number y1, y'all, is a -2. Okay. Then my number x2 is a 3. My number x1 also a 3. Okay, let's see if we can fix some stuff here. Look, y'all, minus and minus become plus. So 4 plus 2 is 6. But 3 divided by 3, y'all, is 0. Okay. Now, y'all, here. Okay, let me see if I can get my calculator to work here. Calculator, is there one on here? Oh, there we go. Calculator. Here we go. Okay, look, y'all. I'm going to take 6 and I'm going to divide it by 0. And I want you to notice what's going to happen. We cannot divide by 0. Okay, we can't do it. Before, when we had, I don't remember what we had on the other problem. What was it? Like, 0 over 3, right? So the problem we did before, look, if we took 0 and divided by 3, boom, we got 0. But now when we try to go 6 divided by 0, we can't do it. Okay, because we can't do it, y'all, what we say here, it's undefined. Okay, undefined just means, you know what, you can't do it. Now again, just give me a second, y'all. I'm going to show you what does a line that has an undefined slope look like. Okay, so y'all, I'm going to do this one in red. Okay, let's see it. First point, 3 and negative 2. 1, 2, 3. Negative 2 would say, hey, Omar, go down 2. Okay. And now 3, positive 4 would say, let's go to the right 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, there's my line. Y'all remember what we said as we go from the left to right? If the line goes up, slope is positive. If the line comes down, the slope is negative. Is that line going up? Or is that line going up? It's like when you go to the restaurant. What kind of book do you have to flower? You say yes. Guys, that line's going both up and down, right? So if a slope has if a line has an undefined slope, that is what we call a vertical line. Okay. Those are the 4 different possibilities we could get. The line could go up where the slope is positive. The line could go down where the slope is negative. The line could be horizontal, just kind of chilling like that. And that means the slope is 0. But if the slope is undefined, it's a vertical line. Okay. Those are the 4 different possibilities we could end up with. All right. All right. Let me come back over here to the rest of my notes. Okay. And I'm going to scroll down, Charlie Brown. And y'all, we're going to talk about something called what we call the slope-intercept equation. And so y'all, we've talked about how to draw lines 2 ways already. One way was what we did on Monday, which is we just picked random points and plotted them. And then earlier today, we did the intercept method where we got to make that special table, right? The table looks like this, boom, a 0 here and a 0 there, right? When it says intercepts, boom, that's the table that I'm going to make, right? Now, y'all, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about something that we call the slope-intercept equation. Okay, so the way we find the slope-intercept equation, y'all, or the way we graph using the slope-intercept method is we're going to look for that, y equals mx plus b. We want to make sure that we're in that form. So y'all, if anybody just graduated in the last year or 2 and you had a math class, they probably told you y equals mx plus b every other day, right? Okay, m stands for the slope. The point 0 and b is the y-intercept. What we're going to do here, y'all, we're going to find 2 things. Number 1, we're going to find our slope, which is the number m. M, y'all, happens to be the number that happens to be right in front of the x. What is the number in front of the x in this problem? What, negative 4? Y'all, I'm going to think about it as a fraction. I'm going to think about it as negative 4 over 1. The reason being, the top number tells me how to move up or down, and the bottom number tells me how to move left or right. Okay. Step number 2, we're going to look for the y-intercept. The y-intercept is always going to be the point 0 and the letter b, okay? B is going to be the number at the end. So in our case, y'all, it looks like our number B is 0 and boom, -1. This is where we start, okay? We're going to start at 0 and -1. So I'm going to come back over here, 0, -1, sorry, is that point right there. Now, since my slope is a -4 over a +1, y'all, usually when we talk about the slope, you may have heard the run. I sometimes call it the rise or the fall over the run. In this case, because my top number is a -4, I'm going to fall 4 spaces down. So from here, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm going to run over 1 spot. Okay. I'm going to draw my line. Boom, there it is. I know it's a little crooked, but you get the idea. How do I know that I did that right? Well, something that tells me that I'm on the right track is look at my slope. Is that number positive or negative? Oh, it's negative. If it's negative, my line should be coming down, Charlie Brown, and it is, right? So that's how I know, okay, I'm doing this the right way. So y'all, when you start to draw these things, if you have a negative slope, but your line is going up, that's telling you like, hey, we're on the wrong track, right? So if we decided on Sunday we wanted to drive up to Dallas, right? Because somebody says, hey, I want to go see the game. And I said, all right, let's go to Dallas. And I pick everybody up in a big bus, right? 8 o'clock in the morning, because it takes 6 hours to get there. And I pick you guys up in a bus and we start driving. And all of a sudden we come to a sign that says, Bienvenidos a Mexico. You're going to tell me, Omar, you're going in the wrong way. You're supposed to be going north and you're heading to the border. Sorry, wrong way. Okay. Y'all, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to see if we can draw this using the slope intercept method. Okay. So step number 1, y'all, I'm going to write out y equals mx plus b. And we're going to do a stare and compare. We're going to look at this guy here. We're going to look at that guy there. And we want to find 2 things. We want to find m, which is our slope. Remember, y'all, m is the number that's in front of the x. So in this problem, we would say, hey, our m, the number in front of the x, 1 over 2. Because it's a positive 1 over 2, y'all, this is going to be the rise over the run, right? Step number 2, we're going to look for our y-intercept. Our y-intercept, y'all, always the point 0 and b is. B is the number at the end. In this case, y'all, it looks like our b is 3. This is where we start, okay? We're going to start at 0 and 3. So if I want to start at 0 and 3, from the anywhere except up to 3, okay? Now, since my slope is a 1 over 2, I'm going to rise 1 and then run over 2. And I'm going to draw my line. Boom. And there it is. And because this slope is a positive number, my line's going up, right? Are we doing okay so far? Making sense? All right, just checking with you guys. All right, let's try another one, y'all. We're going to do this next one here. Again, step number 1, let's just write out the little formula. Y equals, hey, Omar, mx plus b, okay? And let's see what it is we got here. So I'm going to look at my equation. I'm going to look at this guy here, boom. I'm going to look at this guy, boom, right there. Okay, step number 1, my m. Remember, y'all, m is the number, in front of the x. What's the number in front of the x? What kind of 3? -3. Y'all, if I have a whole number, I'm going to write it over 1. Okay. The reason being, remember, I need to think about it as either the rise or the fall over the run. Since my top number is a -3, do you think we're going to go up 3 or down 3? What do you think? Down, right? So look, y'all, we're going to call that the fall. So the fall over the run. Okay. Step number 2, we're going to look for our y-intercept. Remember, my friends, my y-intercept is always the number 0 and b. Remember what b is? B is the number at the end. Y'all, if I don't see anything at the end, what do you think that number really is? If there's no number there, it's got to be a 0, right? It's got to be a 0 because there's nothing there, right? I couldn't put a 2 because I don't see a 2, right? All right. So, y'all, let's take a look and let's see what we got here. Okay, we're going to start. Remember, this is where we start. We're going to start right there, right dab in the middle. Okay. Slope is -3 over 1. Y'all, from here, we're going to count 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go over 1. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about that. Why? Because my slope is negative and my line's going down. Okay. So, y'all, these are things that, again, you can do to check, like, hey, am I doing that right? If you hit something like check your answer and it says, I'm sorry, that's not correct. It could be something like, oh, you know what? You thought you moved down 3, but you moved down 4 or something like that. But if your line's going up and you got a negative slope, you're like, oh, what am I doing here? Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to scroll down a little further. And we got a couple more to go. And we're going to do the same thing here, y'all. Okay. Do the same thing. So look, step number 1, I'm going to write out y equals mx plus b. And I guess my first step really is to find my m. M is the number in front of the x. Now, y'all, I want you to notice something here. Here I have the letter y, and here I got an f of x. F of x and y are the same thing. They're 2 ways of writing the same idea, except one's like more formal. Like, so like if your mother's name is Guadalupe, there's a good chance that your dad calls her Lupe. So the f of x is kind of like the Guadalupe part, and this is kind of like the Lupe part. They mean the same thing, just a little less formal. M is the number that's in front of my x. What number, even though I don't see it, is in front of that x? It's a 1, right? So look, y'all, we're going to write it as 1 over 1. Since it's positive, it's going to be a rise over the run. Okay. Step number 2, the y-intercept. Always the number 0 and b. Remember, y'all, b is the number at the end. Well, the number at the end here, my friends, is a -4. Okay, this right here, y'all, is where we start. Okay, 0 and -4. Boom, sorry, right there. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, look, our slope is 1 over 1. I'm going to go up 1 and over 1, up 1 and over 1, up 1 and over 1, up 1. You don't have to do that many. And there's your line. Okay. And my line, y'all, again, positive slope. Hey, look, my line's going up. Okay. All right. Y'all, I'm going to keep scrolling down here a little further. And looks like we got another one similar to the ones we've just been doing. So again, first thing I'm going to do, y'all, I'm going to do this. Y equals mx plus b. Y'all, first thing I want you to notice, when I look at that problem right there, it does not look like this problem right here. This problem right here has the letter y by itself. Okay, the first thing we're going to do, y'all, we're going to take this 2x and we're going to move it over. Okay, so I'm going to be left with the 3y because I'm going to move the 2x over. Y'all, when we move things over from one side of the equal sign to the other, what happens is the sign of that thing that we move over changes. Right now, this is a positive 2x. How do I know that? Because there's no sign with it, right? There's no sign with it. We're negative 2x plus 9, okay? When we cross the equal sign, the sign of our number is going to change. Now, one more thing we need to do, y'all. We have to come back and divide every single thing that we see by 3. So we can get rid of the 3 that's in front of the y. So look, this 3 and this 3 go away. Right here, y'all. Negative 2 over 3 with an x. 9 divided by 3, still 3. Okay, now I'm going to come back and I'm going to do my step number 1. Step number 1. What's my m? Remember, y'all, m is the number that's in front of my x. Look at the number in front of our x. It's a negative 2/3. Since it's negative, y'all, this is going to be a fall over the run, right? Step number 2, we want to find our y-intercept, which is going to be the point 0 and whatever the number b is, okay? So 0 and b, in this case, y'all, it's going to be 0 and b looks like the number 3. That right there, my friends, is where we're going to start, okay? So, y'all, first thing we're going to do, we're going to come up here, we're going to go to 0 and 3. Boom, right there, okay? Now, look at our slope, negative 2/3. Remember what that means, y'all? From this point, I'm going to fall 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Boom. And there's my line. All right, let me keep scrolling down here, y'all. And let's talk again. We talked a little bit about it. Horizontal lines. Y'all, horizontal lines, just so you know, horizontal lines always go strictly left and right. So look, when it tells me to graph the line, let me show you what I'm going to do here. It's asking me to graph the line y equals 5. Look, y'all, here's the y-axis. Sorry. There's the y-axis. We're going to go up to y equals 5. So I'm going to put a point, boom, right there. How does that line supposed to look? It's supposed to go left and right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to decide, do I want to go to my right or do I want to go to my left? It doesn't matter. Just go either way and find another point, either to the left or the right. You can go to the right or you can go to the left, and there's your line. That's all you got to do. That's a horizontal line. Why? Because it goes, boom, left and right. Okay. Horizontal lines, y'all, are always going to have y equals and just some number. There's no x in the equation, right? There's no 3x, there's no negative 2x, nothing like that. It just says y equals and that number. Now, vertical lines, y'all, x equals -1. I know, sorry, there's a lot of space here. I didn't mean for it to be that way. But let's see if we can figure it out. X equals -1. Vertical lines, y'all, these lines go strictly up and down. Okay, x equals -1. I'm going to zoom in here so we can see a little bit better. Here's my x-axis. Look, y'all, here's x equals -1. Remember, these lines go strictly up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm either going to go up or I'm going to go down. It doesn't matter. You can go up. Or if you want to, you could come down. And there's your line. Okay. So when you see something like x equals -1 and there's no y's in it, you're just going to go boom, up and down. Okay. All right. Let's scroll down a little further. and see what it is we have. All right, it says as people age, daily stress and worry decrease and happiness increases, according to uh, an analysis of 340,847 adults, 18 to 85 in a certain country. The graph shows a portion of the research. Sorry, complete parts A and B below. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see. Okay, so here's my picture, and this is the percentage representing stress. Okay, so look, anybody here 22? Anybody 22? One of us. Okay, so right now you should have probably a fairly decent amount of stress. Guys, I just turned 52. Oh man, my stress should be less. It's not. I don't know. Maybe it is. But anywho, as we get older, they're saying this is what's going to happen. Okay, let's take a look. Part A, can we find the slope of the line? Hey, y'all, look, boom. Here are my 2 points, right? Just like we did earlier. Look, y'all, I'm going to call this X1 and Y1. I'm going to call that X2 and Y2. And I'm first going to write down my formula. And let's see what we got. Okay. So look, y'all, my first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to come back. Okay, my Y2. Look, y'all, Y2 is the number 15 minus my Y1 number 37. And then X2 is the number 62 minus X1 is 22. And let's see what we come up with, all right? So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab my calculator, okay? And I'm going to figure out what's 15 minus 37. Negative 22. Okay. And then 62 minus 22, I don't need a calculator for that. That's 40. Okay. And check a look, y'all, right here. They want me to round this to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to use my calculator. Negative 22, we're going to divide it by 40. We're going to go to 1 decimal place. Guys, 1 decimal place means that number. Do you think we should leave that as a 5, or do you think we should round it up to a 6? 6, right? Good. Negative 0.6. Okay, so we're going to go right here. Negative 0.6. Okay. Now, there's a part B to that question. Let's take a look, y'all. Let's take a look at part B. And let's see if we can figure out what this negative 0.6 is telling me. All right, it says, for each year of aging, the percentage of Americans reporting a lot of stress decreases by what percent? So, y'all, one thing I want you to notice here, do you see how it's negative? That's why they're using the word decreases, right? But it's going down by 0.6, okay? And it says the rate of change is right here, y'all. I'm going to put, again, negative 0.6 per. If you look at the numbers on the bottom, y'all, when we did these numbers here on the bottom, those numbers on the bottom were referring to the age. This is how old we are in years. So this is per year, right? Every year, your level of stress should go down by 0.6%. According to this, I couldn't tell you it's accurate or not, but according to that, as we get older, the stress is supposed to get down. All right. We're going to try another problem. Let's take a look at this next question here. I'm going to zoom in and let's see if we can figure out what's happening. All right. This problem here says the bar graph shows the average age of first marriage for men and women in a country in 1990. That was 35 years ago. And in 2016. Find a linear function in the slope-intercept form that models the given description. Okay, the function should average the model average age of first marriage X years after 1990. And it says in 1990, men married the first time at an average age of 25.8, and this average age has increased at a rate of 0.11 per year since then. Name the function, mx. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take a look here. Okay, so this is what they're asking us to do, y'all. They're asking us, can we write a function like this? M of x equals, you know how we did like the mx plus b? That's what we're really going to do, okay? The m, y'all, refers to the rate of change right here. The rate, 0.11. So what I'm going to do, y'all, is right here where that m used to be, I'm going to write it 0.11, okay? Plus, okay, the function should should model the average age first marriage X years after 1990. Look, y'all, men is going to be in the green box. On average, how old was a man when he got married for the first time in the year 1990? He was 25.8. That's going to be my number. Boom, right there. And as you can see, y'all, in 2016, which was about 9 years ago, people waited a little bit longer before they got to get married, right? 28.7. But that's all we're really doing in that problem, okay? Let's take a look. I think we got one more to do. All right, let's see if we can figure this thing out. How wide is the chasm between what men and women earn in the workplace? According to a 2015 analysis from a national women's group, women lose $435,049 over the course of a career because of the pay gap. Isn't that crazy? Like I'm looking at y'all here. Today, you're the only guy in the room, right? Well, besides me. But this affects you guys, right? For whatever reason, we have this. There's this mindset, right, that they pay women less, which is obviously a bunch of crap, right? And it says the bar graph to the right shows the average earnings in the United States for men and women at ages 24 and at ages 56. The exercise involves the graphs of models for the data shown in the rectangular coordinate system to the right, complete parts A and B, or A through C below. Okay, let's see if we can figure out what they're referring to here, y'all. So it says use the 2 points for men shown in the graph to find the function in the form m of x equals mx plus b. That models average yearly earnings for men X years after the age of 20. Okay, so y'all, we're going to try to make this as easy as possible. Which, when I'm looking at this picture right here, look at, okay, which graph refers to the men, the blue line or the red line? The blue, right? The blue refers to the men. Okay, so y'all, what we're going to do two things here. We're going to find step number one, we're going to find the slope for the blue line. Okay. So look, y'all, I'm going to look at the slope. I'm going to call this one here, y'all, my X1 and Y1, and I'm going to call this one here my X2 and Y2. Okay. If I need to zoom in, I'll zoom in a little bit better so we can see that. Okay. So let's try this. Let's see. My number Y2, y'all, looks like the number 22 minus Y1 looks like 66 over X2, which is 0, minus X1, which is 30, okay? So look, let's take our calculators and let's see if we can figure out what those numbers are. So y'all, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my calculator, what's 22 minus 66, negative 44. Okay. Negative 44. 0 minus 30, negative 30. Guys, I'm going to do this on my calculator, and I want you to notice they are asking me to go to 2 decimal places right here, okay? We'll do that in a minute. But I got a question for you. A negative divided by another negative, what do you think? Positive, negative, what do you think? Anybody know? Anybody remember? Positive, right? So look, y'all, when I do this on my calculator, I'm not even going to worry about the negatives. I'm going to say, what's 44 divided by 30? Why? Because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. All right, we got to go to 2 decimal places. All right, that right there, y'all, would be 2 decimal places. But remember, we need to round. My question to you, what do you think? 1.46 or 1.47? Anyone know? You got to look at the number to the right. Look at this number. Oops, sorry. Look at that number right there. Should it change this 6 or no? Yeah, it does, right? 1.47. Okay. Right here, y'all, we're going to write a 1.47 right here in the middle. 1.47. Boom. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do, y'all, we haven't even finished part A yet. Okay. So that's just the first part. That's the M. Okay. Now look, y'all, when we're going to write this MX business, the way we have it right here, we're going to go like this. MX plus B. We just found our M by getting that number 1.47. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write 1.47x plus the B, y'all. The B happens to be the Y number when the X number was 0. If you notice right here, y'all, when the X number was 0, the Y number was 22. So this part happens to be my answer for that one right there. Okay. Now, we're going to repeat that process, y'all, for part B, but now we're going to do this for the women. Okay. So look, I'm going to scroll just over here, just where I got a little bit of room. Okay. And I'm going to say, look, I need to find my slope. So here's my slope formula. Okay. Now, y'all, I'm doing this for the red line now. Okay. So look, I'm going to call this my X1 and Y1. I'll call that my X2 and Y2. Okay. Let's see. My number Y2 looks like it's the number 21 minus my number Y1 looks like it's the number 42. And then X2 is 0 and X1 is 30. Okay. And 21 minus 42 right up here, y'all. That should be a negative 21. And 0 minus 30 should be a negative 30. Okay. And I'm going to find out what that number is. And we're going to go decimals. Okay. So I'm going to take my calculator again. Sorry. I'm going to take my calculator again here, y'all. Let's clear this out. Okay, negative 21 over negative 30. Y'all, I don't have to worry about negatives. You can if you want to. Look, negative 21 divided by 30, hit the negative. You're still going to get a positive answer, positive 0.7. Okay. All right, so we got a 0.7. Now, we're going to write out the equation, y'all. The way we're going to write the equation for here, this W of X, we're going to go again, the MX plus B. We just found our M, 0.7x. Okay, now what's the B part? The B part, y'all, happens to be, the Y value when the X number was 0. When the X number was 0, y'all, the Y value was the number 21. Boom. 21. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to do part C. Part C has 2 parts, okay? So part C has 2 parts. Y'all, when I'm going to do part C, The first part right here says, use the models in parts A and B to find the average yearly earnings for men and women at the age of 33. How are these values shown in the graphs for the models of the data? And then what's the difference in earnings for men and women at that age? Okay, and look what they're telling me to do. Start by finding the average yearly earnings for men at 33. Okay, so this is what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to try to figure out, when men are 33, how much are they going to earn on average for a year? Now, y'all, I can't just plug in the number 33, and I want to tell you why. When we're doing this thing here, this is referring, X stands for the number of years after the age of 20. Okay, after the age of 20. If you're 33 years old, how many years have passed since you were 20? Anybody know? 13. Y'all, we're going to use the number 13. Okay. So I'm going to come back to this problem right here. And where we have the letter X, we're going to put the number 13. Okay. So look, let's do this. Let me get my calculator. And I'm going to take my calculator. And the first thing I'm going to do, y'all, I'm going to take 1.47 times 13. Okay. 19.11. And then I'm going to add 22 to it. Okay. And I'm coming up with 41.11. Now, y'all, one thing I want you to notice here in the directions, look what it says, rounded to 1 decimal point. 1 decimal point. What do you think I should write? 41.1 or 41.2? 0.1, right? Okay, there we go. So right here, y'all, for men, we're going to say that answer is 41.1. That means 41.1 thousand or $41,100. Okay. Now, we're going to do the same thing, y'all, for the women. Okay. So look, the difference here, y'all, is that when we do this for the women, when we do this for the women, again, 13 years have passed, right? Because it's for age 20 and older. And this is the equation we're going to use, right? So we're going to say 0.7 times 13 plus, plus 21, right? Because I'm using this one right here. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's take our calculator again. Oops. All right, let's take our calculator again. So I'm going to go this out, 0.7 times 13. Okay, and we're going to add 21. And y'all, I'm coming up with 30.1. Okay. So now we got 30.1 thousand. Okay. Again, that means 30,100. All right, let's take a look. How are these values shown in the graphs of the models of the data? Okay, let's take a look. Why am I coming up with a different number? Sorry, guys. Coming up with something different. 47. Did I do something wrong? Hold on, y'all. Coming up with a different number, and I'm supposed to be getting something else. Let me see. 1.47 times 13 plus 20. Was it 22? Yeah. 41.11. That's what we got. So y'all, I'm supposed to be, my answer here is supposed to be B, but I don't know why I'm getting different numbers, and I may have just copied the wrong part here, but this should be 41.1 and this one should be 31.1, right? And you say like, okay, how do I know that, Omar? Let me tell you real quick, just so that you know. The way I know that is when we plugged in the number 13, we got the first time we got 41.1, and we plugged in the number 13 here, we got 30.1. That's why those numbers are supposed to be what they are. Okay. But that's what we're supposed to be coming up with. And so notice, y'all, if you look at the difference in those two salaries, if we were to take this number minus that number, we'd come up with 11, right? But that really means there's a difference of $11,000, right? So a man is going to be making $11,000 more a year than a woman, right? And again, that sounds like a whole bunch of nonsense, right? Shouldn't be happening that way. But all right, so guys, you can see these last couple of problems a little heavier than what we've done so far, okay? Y'all, just as a heads up, the homework for 3-2 is due by Wednesday next week, okay? And again, y'all, the homework for 2-1, 2-4, and the quiz are due by tonight. 3.1 due Monday, 3.2 a week from today, okay? But that's it for us today, guys. Let me stop recording. Boom. Go